The drama surrounding the Titans vs. Browns matchup refuses to stay confined to the scoreboard, because what unfolded after the final whistle has sparked a deeper, more uncomfortable conversation about quarterback evaluation, coaching priorities, and organizational failure. What should have been a straightforward post-game discussion instead became a lightning rod moment when Titans interim head coach Mike McCoy weighed in on the Cam Ward vs. Shadur Sanders conversation. His words ignited debate, not because they were outrageous on the surface, but because they exposed a truth that Browns fans have been screaming all season. Circumstances matter, support matters, and coaching decisions can make or break a young quarterback's future. On paper, the game ended in a Titans win, and that alone became the shield behind which certain narratives tried to hide. Wins are always convenient when explaining quarterback comparisons. They allow people to flatten complex performances into a single binary outcome. But anyone who actually watched that game understood immediately that the two quarterbacks were operating in completely different worlds. Cam Ward played within a structure designed to protect him, support him, and set him up to succeed. Shadur Sanders was forced to survive chaos, improvise under pressure, and drag an offense forward despite having almost no functional support. The Titans entered the game with a clear identity and committed to it. They ran the football relentlessly, and it paid off. The Browns' defense was worn down, forced to respect the run, and constantly placed in conflict. That running game was not just productive, it was liberating for Cam Ward. Play action became effective. Passing windows widened. Third downs stayed manageable. Ward was not asked to be a superhero, and that is exactly how rookie quarterbacks should be handled. It was smart football. On the other sideline, Shadur Sanders was living a completely different reality. The Browns could not run the ball. Not early, not late, not when it mattered most. Holes never developed, timing never synced, and the Titans' defense knew it. They were free to focus on Sanders, pressure him, and force him to create solutions on his own. The most telling stat from the night was not a passing number. It was the fact that Sanders ended the game as Cleveland's leading rusher. That is not a compliment to the offensive design. That is an indictment. Despite all of that, Sanders refused to fold. Late in the game, when the Browns had every reason to disappear, he took control. Back-to-back scoring drives in under 6 minutes kept Cleveland alive in a game they had no business being in. The throws were aggressive. The decisions were confident. The moment never overwhelmed him. He was the one player on the Browns' offense who looked composed, decisive, and dangerous. That matters, even if the final score refuses to acknowledge it. Mike McCoy's comments after the game landed in that context, whether he intended them to or not. He spoke about winning. He spoke about the value of the running game. He spoke about how much easier life becomes for a young quarterback when everything around him is functioning. From a pure football perspective, none of that is wrong. Every coach in the league would agree with those statements. The issue was not what he said, but what those comments indirectly highlighted. One quarterback was supported. The other was abandoned. By framing the conversation around wins and system support, McCoy unintentionally drew attention to the gap between how these two players were treated. Cam Ward was allowed to grow in a controlled environment. Shadur Sanders was thrown into a storm and told to figure it out on his own. When you evaluate their performances honestly, the more impressive showing belonged to the quarterback who had to overcome everything stacked against him. That reality is uncomfortable for people who prefer clean narratives, but it cannot be ignored. This is where the spotlight swings back to Kevin Stefanski, because everything McCoy described about what rookie quarterbacks need was precisely what Sanders was denied for most of the season. Development requires trust. Growth requires reps. Confidence requires belief from the coaching staff. Sanders did not get those things. He was buried. He was sidelined. He was surrounded by excuses instead of solutions. And when he finally proved he could carry the offense, his own head coach still found ways to limit him. Nothing illustrates that dysfunction more clearly than the final moments of the game. After a late touchdown brought Cleveland within 1 point, the decision to go for 2 was correct. Momentum was on their side. The Titans' defense was reeling. Sanders was in rhythm. And then came the decision that defied logic. The ball was taken out of Sanders' hands. In the biggest moment of the game, after 2 straight scoring drives orchestrated by a quarterback playing with confidence and urgency, Stefanski chose a design that relied on a struggling running game. It was not just questionable, it was reckless. Coaches preach riding the hot hand for a reason. Football history is littered with examples of players who earned the right to decide games. Sanders had earned that right. He was denied it. The aftermath only made things worse. The explanations lacked conviction. Accountability was absent. Instead of owning the moment, Stefanski leaned on technical justifications that ignored the obvious. This was not about scheme. It was about trust. And the pattern is undeniable. Time and again, in critical situations, the Browns have found ways to minimize Sanders' role instead of empowering it. That is not strategy. That is insecurity. What makes this even more damning is the contrast with how Tennessee has handled Cam Ward. From the start, the Titans committed. They identified their quarterback, built around him, and gave him the tools to succeed. Cleveland did the opposite. They hesitated. They obscured. They delayed. And now they act surprised when Sanders shines the moment he is allowed to play freely. The fact that Sanders is performing at this level despite everything is not just impressive, it is alarming for the organization. It suggests that his ceiling is far higher than what we are currently seeing. Imagine what he could be doing with consistent first-team reps. Imagine what he could be doing with a functional run game. Imagine what he could be doing with a coach who actually wants him to succeed. This is why the McCoy comments struck such a nerve. They were not an insult. They were a mirror. They reflected the Browns' failures back at them in real time. One team protected its quarterback. The other sabotaged its own. And yet, the quarterback who had less support nearly stole the game anyway. The saddest part is that this conversation did not need to exist. The Browns could have avoided it by making smarter decisions months ago. They could have committed earlier. They could have developed properly. Would have trusted the talent they already had. Instead, they created controversy, confusion, and wasted time. And now, with every game, that failure becomes harder to hide. Shadur Sanders will be fine. His poise under pressure, his ability to elevate broken situations, and his mental toughness all point to long-term success. Talent like that always finds daylight eventually. The real question is whether Cleveland will be the place where that success fully blooms, or whether they will look back on this season as another chapter in a long history of quarterback mismanagement. As the season winds down, every snap matters. Every decision matters. And every moment where the ball is taken out of Sanders' hands will only add fuel to the growing belief that the problem is not the quarterback, but the man calling the plays. Now it is your turn. Did Mike McCoy throw shade? Or did he accidentally expose the truth about how badly the Browns have mishandled their young quarterback? Should Kevin Stefanski still be trusted to lead this team, or has he already shown too much evidence of failure? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this conversation is far from over. If you want more deep breakdowns that cut through the noise and call out accountability where it is deserved, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. This story is still unfolding, and we are not done watching it.